Welcome to the Insider Show, brought to you by College Baseball Central, bringing you 90 feet closer to the greatest show on dirt. Now, here are your hosts.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Insider Show, brought to you by College Baseball Central. Joined, as always, Quentin Mills, not donning a cap tonight. I almost feel like he's got a mirror or something above his head. What's going on, Q?
Yeah, I had to pack it up. We're going to East Carolina tomorrow, so I didn't feel like pulling it back out. But I'm watching UConn, Arizona, and I am unimpressed. That's what's going on.
I figure a guy with your hairstyle would own a lot of hats.
I do. I actually have probably 60 or 70. Yeah. There's more laziness.
That's a flex, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so let's touch on last weekend, opening weekend. There's plenty of overreactions, and we'll kind of get into the numbers and analytics of it here in a little bit. But just off the cuff, I know we've talked about, so I'm removing it from our repertoire of being able to talk about them tonight. We know Oklahoma looked impressive in Arlington. Outside of them, who do you think was a winner of the weekend and a loser of the weekend before we jump into it?
Winner would be
I think we're both in unison that Oklahoma was the winner. That's why.
Yeah.
Odyssey and ECSI, I think we've kind of beaten that dead horse.
I would say definite loser for me was East Carolina. I thought they should have played, but that's also a tip of the cap to Xavier. They played really well, and East Carolina I just thought was primed for a good year. You could probably throw Arizona in there being winless. They're probably 1A, 1B. Why don't you give your winner or loser, and I'll try to come up with one. Man,
so mine's pretty ridiculous, but Kane's Cats Heat said, "Where the hell is Missouri State and Ole Miss?" I know we'll get into it. It's the call to the bullpen with your questions from the chat, so that's a good one. We'll get to it. My winner of the weekend, and this is like a very chalky thing. I can't even believe I'm saying it, but it was LSU. I don't know how Jay Johnson does this year in and year out, where he's got this solidified Friday night guy, and then he kind of piecemeals together an all-star lineup that the opportunity is endless for the ways that they can score runs. And it's no different now. If Cooper Moore is the second day guy, I feel like as the season progresses, they kind of go through a little slump, and then they pick right back up in time for the postseason. And it looks like Jay Johnson's probably going to be back in Omaha once again.
It's crazy that you look at that team, right? And we talked about Oklahoma, and I'll allude to one of their guys. Cam Johnson pretty much was told, you're not going to pitch as a starter on the staff. Like, go find another home. And that speaks to the LSU talent. It's like that guy is a Friday night guy on any other staff, and he doesn't make the weekend rotation, or compete for a ton of innings at LSU. So credit to Jay Johnson. There's no rebuild in Jay Johnson's name. It's called reload. And he's so good at that. I'll give you two, and they played in the same tournament. One got shortened because of weather. I thought NC State and Houston had a really good showing. Now, was the competition tip-top? No. But to still go to Puerto Rico and still, ball out in an unknown, place that you've never really been to. Houston, a ton of expectations last year they didn't live up to. And starting 4-0, you got to be pretty proud of that from them. And then NC State, like I said, when Jeff showed, Ryan Marone looked great in game one. Jacob Dudan looks like an absolute stud for him in game two. And they just were piecing hits just about every inning and playing good fundamental baseball. So those are my two tie winners.
As far as loser, it flipped so quickly, but Louisville just I don't know what is going on. This offense, we know the pieces are there. Not sure why they couldn't put it together against Michigan State until that last game when they had already lost the series. But I had high hopes for Louisville. I thought they were an Omaha team, and they got ran out of the ballpark by Michigan State, who wasn't predicted to finish anywhere close to near the top of the Big Ten.
I remember they had trouble closing games out like this last year because I distinctively remember saying, like, you go to the ninth inning with a 7-run lead and it's not safe. And it's true this year. I mean, outside Ethan Everly, they need to have open tryouts, posted around the campus, because I think I texted you guys. I was like, well, I thought I knew that Xavier was going to get housed when it was 9-1, and then 20 minutes later it's 9-9. I mean, that's just insane.
And then I would be remiss not to lead with Michigan as another team who won the weekend, and we'll get into that. They looked really good, and I think Michigan is another team in the Big Ten that's probably not going to compete for a Big Ten championship. Although UCLA looks beatable early on. They go to Globe Life in week 2 of the Shriners Classic, taking on Florida State. And I really like Florida State. They were a team that I picked to make it to Omaha. We have yet to see Trey Beard, the transfer from FAU. I don't know if he's going to work his way into a midweek starter role, if he's going to be used in long relief. You've got to think that a guy that had a sub-3 ERA in Sierra last year in FAU is going to be able to crack this rotation at some point. But Miles Bailey, he looks like a man among men out there. I joked on the chicken dinner podcast that we did the other night with Sammy that I think Miles Bailey, they're still looking for that ball that he hit. First swing, if I'm not mistaken, just absolutely torqued it out over the fence. And Florida State, at, minus 270, probably not playable, 64% win probability here. And using just this year's numbers now, Florida State kind of looks like the total package here, assuming it's Tate Carey versus Wes Mendez, which were the Friday starters last weekend. You looking at anything in this one? Is this anything more than just a litmus test to see if Michigan is legit, or do you actually think that they have a shot at taking the Seminoles wire to wire?
No. So if people remember, Michigan went down to Puerto Rico last year to start 4-0, so they're a similar track, and then they kind of fade off, right? Like they're, like you said, a Big Ten team that they're probably motivated to begin the season, and then they kind of drift off, just sheer talent, and have to go back home. I like Florida State here, and I hate saying that. Like, it's weird as a Gator fan to say I like Florida State, but Wes Mendez has proven he did it all last year for them. Miles Bailey's 450 plus territory. I expect him to hit up at least one home run, if not a couple in Globe Life. He's maybe the most powerful bat there outside of Ryder Helfrich. I just think Florida State is just so much better and on another tier than Michigan. Like, I know Michigan went on that 3-1 run, and they should be proud of that, and they played really good ball last weekend. But now you're kind of playing the big leagues, and I think Florida State's, especially for Link Jarrett, like, he's been to Omaha. They didn't make it last year in a heartbreaker. I think they have something to prove this year, and they take it out here on Michigan.
All right, let's roll over to the other team. I've already talked about LSU. You look at their numbers, just Case and Evans, the ERA, just completely ignore it. And this is why we love the advanced analytics here at College Baseball Insiders. Tony Newbeck for Indiana, a 0 ERA, but you look at that Sierra, the xFIP, our blend of the expected Sierra, 271 for Case and Evans, 606 for Newbeck. I think this is a tale of two sides of the same coin. In LSU is an absolute powerhouse. We know that the bats are going to be alive. Newbeck probably going to give up some earned runs in this one, I would venture to say. LSU pretty much unplayable at minus 500. You may look at the run line or as a piece to a parlay. You think Indiana has any shot here at VyStar Park down in Florida?
The only shot Indiana has is being the team that's faced the first 2 weekends toughest pitchers. When you got to go DeCaro, and then you go Boaz, and then you next week you go Case and Evans and Cooper Moore. Like, hats off to you guys. The line's probably going to be, the run line's probably going to be minus 4.5, and I'm pretty confident LSU's going to clear
that. I'm just blown away that Case and Evans has a 10.8 ERA, and I still think
Liam got rocked too, though. Like,
yeah, well, Hagen Smith a couple years ago, he had like a 27 ERA going into Globe Life and closed out Oregon State with 17 strikeouts. So that's again why we rely on the advanced stuff. You can see in his Sierra, he was doing a good job. They just hit him around.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Arkansas and Xavier. Arkansas just glaring at that 81 weighted runs created. We knew the offense could be a problem outside of Ryder Helfrich, Cam Kojal. Somebody else is going to have to step up. Damian Ruiz, transfer from Lamar, came over, did a great job getting on base, making things happen. But you're kind of looking at Mike Anu, Reese Robinette, Kahil Aloy. Think he's going to be at 100%. He kind of tweaked his hamstring running around the base on that home run.
How do you do that?
I know. But you also saw a kid break his ankle, RIP.
Yeah, that is true.
Running around. But I think Arkansas bounces back. Dave indicated that he thought Hunter Dietz would pitch a lot better than he did last week, as well as Cooper Dossett. But again, numbers completely not playable. I do think that Arkansas may be a look in the run line, though. Xavier, hats off to them. They scheduled a gauntlet. I think they go to Oregon State and Cal State Fullerton here in the next couple of weeks as well. But do you give the Musketeers a shot here at Baum Walker?
And this is no slight to Arkansas. I think they're an Omaha team, but those early season series, like they've struggled in the past few years. Last year, I remember a team, was it Charlotte that came in and gave them all they could handle? And then the year before that, somebody else.
James Madison in Washington State. Which Washington State, hats off to them. They just gave Alabama all they could handle.
Yeah, it's something about that first Arkansas home series that the Hogs seem to always struggle. And Xavier played really good ball for 5 innings against Louisville. Obviously, they took the series against a pretty talented East Carolina team on the road. This is another spot where I could see Xavier giving trouble at least game 1 to the Hogs and maybe look at a game 2 or game 3 spot here.
Yeah, I think the biggest difference maker there, Gabe Gackle.
That is tough, yeah.
It's going to be
a negative force.
Very intriguing to see how this Gabe Gackle, Cole Gibbler, if that's their 1-2 that they throw at you on Friday nights, good luck scoring.
Yeah.
Nick Hathcote, friend of the program. Beard was sick last weekend. He'll be starting Saturday. Thank you. I hope you all caught Nick and Jake on Southern Fried Baseball that I guess came right before our show went off.
Yeah.
They are talking all SEC baseball. It's a Texas A&M fan and a Tennessee fan. What's the worst that could happen? All right. Now from one game I'll be at to one that you will be in attendance of, North Carolina, East Carolina. Model likes North Carolina here. Line is in favor of North Carolina, but really not as high as I thought it would be. Do you think ECU bounces back in Norby's second start of the season, or do you think DeCaro and that North Carolina lineup at 126 weighted runs created plus, do you think they give Norby another long day?
No, I think North Carolina could pull away later, but I do think Norby bounces back. He had phenomenal starts last year under big pressure moments. The kid's just an absolute stud, undersized, throws, mid-90s. He got roughed up in his first start, and I think this team is, going to listen to Cliff Godwin and say, listen, you guys got to bounce back. You're sitting at 2-3. This is not the East Carolina baseball way, and you have a chance to reset the season here with a big series win against North Carolina. It's played in 3 different places, and 2 of those you can win. It's at home and in a neutral site. So let's go get it done. And I'm not going to bet it because I'm going to be there and I just want to enjoy it and not sweat on the side. But I could see this game being extremely tight for the first 5 or 6 innings. And then depending on what Sean Jenkins you get and who shows up on the mound, North Carolina kind of pull away late. If Sean Jenkins is a stud, then I think this game East Carolina could potentially take on like a +1.5 or +2.5 run line, depending on what it is. Probably 1.5.
Probably so at -210. All right, Kennesaw State Owls go into Gainesville at Condren to take on the Florida Gators. Liam Peterson, assuming he gets the start, same ERA as Kason Evans, but that Sierra is not good. So
he got roughed up.
He did. Do you think he bounces back hard? And do you think Florida does what they did in the midweek and give Kennesaw State a long day on the mound?
I do. I think offensively
good. We knew Florida's offense was going to be good. Yeah. Can they do enough to overcome another bad start by Peterson, though?
So I think I gave him bulletin board material. I think he's going to pitch well. He liked my tweet when I said he's not a Friday guy, my week 1 thoughts. And listen, if I got to be the poster child in that locker room, and be the hated face to bring a title to Florida, I'll take it all day of the week. So, no, I do think he bounces back. This is he's been up or down. Like, he's had really bad starts, and then he's looked like, a first-round guy. And I think he does bounce back in this. I think the series you're really going to see what Liam Peterson you get is in when they play Miami in a week or two. And so I think they'll get through Kennesaw State. They are a good ball club, though. Kennesaw State's given, especially in the midweeks, like Georgia and Georgia Tech, trouble. So you definitely can't sleep on them.
Nah, Florida, one of my picks to make it to Omaha. I think there was a lot of value in that, especially at 40-1.
Yeah.
It looks like between Aiden King and Liam Peterson, I think they've got a really solid 1-2 punch. Peterson's just got to lock in and pitch a lot better, obviously.
Yeah.
All right, Baylor, Oregon State. This one is down in Round Rock where the wind is going to be blowing. Baylor, again, we're only using 2026 stats. So when you're looking at this and you're like, wow, Baylor's projected to beat Oregon State. Yes, but do we think Tice Armstrong is going to hit 3 grand slams against Dax Whitney? Probably not. So just tread lightly on this, but it is intriguing enough where I will want to play Baylor on the run line if I can get that plus 2.5. I think this Baylor pitching staff is decent. I think their offense is really good. Sitting at 4-0, taking on Oregon State, who I think we both had in our Omaha 8. Can they right the ship and get this offense clicking? Because I think we talked about it. They lose Trent Caraway to LSU in the portal, and then you lose a handful of guys like Gavin Turley and
Dave Arquette.
Are they going to be able to make this offense work and be able to hang with Baylor if this turns into a shootout?
I'm worried. I knew they were going to take a step down. I'm pretty concerned, and it's kind of an overreaction, but they looked bad. And I watched every game that they played, and I just didn't see any, there wasn't really even hard contact to say, oh, they're just not falling. I mean, it was just bloopers, couldn't get it out of the infield. Baylor's going to give them their run for their money once they can get Dax out of the game. Dax will control it for as long as they let him go. I think he only went, 5 innings last week. Maybe he stretches to 6, 7, depending on his pitch count. They're not going to blow his arm out, but
we're getting conflicting reports now. Noah B, thanks for joining. Trey Beard will not throw Saturday. Link said he's still working his way back. It's Mendez, Moore, and TBA for FSU. So take that for what it's worth. But I think ultimately you will see him in that starting rotation.
100%.
It's going to be another lefty that should be nails for Florida State. All right, let's move on. Michigan State, kind of the darling of the weekend, taking on Texas, who looks rightfully so like the Jim Schlossnagle classic. Let's go out and win the SEC regular season and get to Omaha this year. Texas minus 8-10. I think the books would agree with the projections here. Do you give Michigan State any shot to contend with Texas, or do you think this is going to be all Longhorn down
this
in
ain't Louisville? I could tell you that. I mean, you just go arm after arm after arm in that Texas Longhorn pitching staff. And then you look at the lineup and they can match the ball better than Louisville can. It's going to be a long weekend for Michigan State here.
Texas looks really solid, which, again, I know I keep teasing it, but we'll get into it. Our good friend Noah Darling will be at this one out in Los Angeles. Actually, he would correct me and say, what, Westwood? Is that where their campus actually is? UCLA taking on TCU. TCU going to be without Tommy Lepore, assuming it's Mason Brassfield that goes. You look at the advanced analytics against Redmond. He's got the advantage offensively. Bruins have the advantage, and you may be scratching your head wondering, wait a second, I thought TCU was really good. They just beat Vanderbilt and Arkansas. And then you turn around and you lose, 9-3 to UT Arlington. And Noah Franco is a question mark from what I've been told.
Yeah.
That's going to be another blow to this lineup.
Laporte's out.
Do you give TCU a chance here in game 1, or do you think this is going to be all Bruins in a bounce-back spot after losing 1 to UC San Diego last weekend?
I couldn't tell you what either team is going to show up because I thought UCLA didn't look that great either. I think they have the bats to just kind of play with their food is the best terminology. But TCU, you get them fired up, you play with your food too much, and you end up losing a game. UCLA's pitching staff did not impress me in that series over the weekend, and then they went down early on their midweek. Now they were, again, able to power through with their bats, but TCU's got a lineup that when they get hot, they can hit the ball too, and you get in a shootout, anything's possible. So this is a stay away for me just because I think both teams are kind of an unknown, and I got to see more from either side.
I also think there's a trend going back just off memory. TCU, I feel like always plays really well the first couple of weekends, especially in Arlington.
Yeah.
And then they kind of fizzle out, and then they'll start to make a postseason push there at the end of the season. And it just kind of comes. It depends on when that postseason push comes of whether or not they're going to be there. I think this TCU team, top to bottom, is very talented. I think it's bad timing that they're going out to LA to take on such a premier opponent in UCLA, who didn't drop in the polls. Can't say I blame them. Still a good team. I think it's going to be all Bruins this weekend, though. All right, and I think one of the best matchups, although if you ask Kane's Cat Heat 305, it would be Missouri State Ole Miss, which we'll get to. But I think this is perhaps one of the most compelling matchups, and the one that I was shocked when I saw the numbers for Jake Marciano. Where did he come from? I mean, is this another Cam Johnson situation where a pitcher just throws lights out? James Guyette, not terrible numbers. Yeah, the ERA is up there, but his Sierra is good, 2.26. Weighted runs created. You look, Kansas State got a huge offensive explosion last weekend. Do they do that again in Globe Life, which plays into the pitcher's park? I don't think so. The model doesn't think so. Auburn minus 130 is going to be my first bet of the week 2 slate. I think Auburn is going to come out. They're going to shove. Marciano, if he can replicate just half of as good as he was last weekend, I think they take it to Kansas State, and a bit of a wake-up call because Kansas State is, I mean, for what it's worth, they're sitting at 4-0. They looked like one of the most impressive teams in the Big 12 last weekend.
Didn't they play in this tournament last year, Kansas State?
Yes, I think so.
You know, the one thing that's Auburn doesn't look right offensively. Marciano is kind of their Sam Dutton from last year. Guyette, I'm surprised is the Friday guy. I think Lincoln Sheffield is probably the best pitcher on that staff, and he's not. So that's a little weird. I don't know if that's like playing chess or we're playing checkers type mindset, but I do think Kansas State loses this game. I do think it's going to be closer than what we project because I just don't think that Auburn offense is fully clicking yet.
Yeah. Hazard said, where is Auburn's offense?
Yeah.
We'll see. Ike Irish ain't walking through that door.
No. They do have
They got to figure it out. All right. So let's talk about Missouri State, Ole Miss. I don't have any, assuming it's Hunter Elliott. I know that we talked in that fantasy chat about that.
It's got to be, right?
There's some value in Missouri State from what we landed on. What is I'm going to look up the current odds.
If you guys remember Missouri State, they did lose the series, but they played Mississippi State, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago in Mississippi State, and they gave them all they could handle. I do think they got swept, but it was very close games, like 3-2, 6-5, something like that.
Here's the thing. They're plus 300 right now, Missouri State, minus 425 for Ole Miss. I would wait and play the run line.
Yeah, this is a run line.
If anything, this is going to be all Ole Miss early with Elliott, and then you'll start to see Missouri State fight their way back, and they may come up short. I'm assuming they will, but I do think it'll be a good matchup. But if
you're getting plus 300
right now for money line bets, I wouldn't touch it. I think Ole Miss is the rightful favorite. You look around the SEC. Most of these SEC teams are minus 500 or higher. Yeah, you're getting a little discount with Ole Miss at minus 425, but I mean,
and they're raking the ball.
It's that line for a reason.
They're smoking the ball. Becerra, Dom Decker from Murray State last year, the first baseman, his last name starts with an F. Like they smoked the ball this weekend. So, Do you think this is going to be plus 2.5 or 3.5?
Probably 3.5.
I like that.
That's what I would need to back Missouri State.
Yeah.
So I put together, if you remember last year, I was doing the top 8 teams in weighted runs created and Sierra. I went ahead and did the top 25. And as you see there at number 1, Tennessee, did they figure it out already? Does Elander have it all figured out, unlike Michael Early did last year? But then you look down, you've got LSU, you've got Mike Early in that A&M team. Ole Miss is right there. That's kind of what worries me is they're very well balanced. And hats off to Stephen F. Austin. I think that's the one team that you probably look at and you're like, wow, okay, they're top 8. Georgia Tech, of the two, I think I'm more impressed that the pitching staffs for Georgia and Georgia Tech are carrying as much weight as they are. Georgia ranked number 1 in the country right now in Team Sierra.
I was very surprised by that.
Yeah. Did Wes Johnson finally find a pitching staff? I know it's early.
Maybe.
Week 2 is all about overreactions. Well, let's overreact. Is Georgia Tech and Georgia elite on the mound?
I think Georgia Tech has the ability. I took a lot of flack over the all season. I just said it was a question mark. I never said they couldn't pitch. I do think they could be legit. I am not buying Georgia. I have to see it for a full season. What I saw for 2 straight years with the Georgia staff, the guys who transferred in, they were mid-6 ERAs. I got to see this more than just a blip on the schedule in week 1. Now, you ask me in week 10, then they produce that. We'll have a different discussion. But I just don't see it for Georgia, especially with Ishikawa going down. He's week to week is what they said. He had a hairline fracture, which those are nagging. Like you think you're good and then you're not. So you really got to be careful about that. How about Wichita State on that list? Give a shout out. Going to the Big Island
and Florida Gulf Coast. The sweaty win as a plus 105 dog. I think the biggest thing though, and I'm going to keep doing this every single week so we can talk about it, but 2, the weighted runs created plus 125 or greater in the last 10 years, the national champ has been preseason top 10 in D1's poll. They've been a top 20 team in Sierra. They've been over 125 in weighted runs created, which essentially means they're 25% above average, above a 500 record on the road and top 25 strength schedule. Dating back, every single team that has won it all has played their way into that. If you want to compare it to the March Madness, Ken Palm, top 40 in adjusted offensive efficiency, whatever. It's a trend. It's held up for 10 years. And the one that kills me is that Arkansas and Oregon State both rightfully were there. In that, Arkansas had the advantage, came up short, but I digress. And of this list, you've got Georgia, LSU, and Texas is right there teetering on that list. So definitely something to monitor for the rest of the season. We got a long way to go, obviously, but I took this and I love all the college basketball charts like the trapezoid of excellence and all that. Here is something I'm going to put out every week as well. And you want to be in the top right. You don't want to be in the bottom left. Those are teams that are not good at either hitting or pitching. So you look at these teams in the top right, Georgia Tech jumping off the page at a 199 weighted runs created.
Richard Branson, they just bought their own island.
I don't think that's sustainable, but as soon as I say that, they'll sit there and do it. Colin Wilson said, great presentation, guys. Performance quadrant, love it. Yeah, I mean, you got to grow the game, right? And college basketball, these charts have taken off. So figured I'd throw my hat in the ring. A&M, though, I think that's one of the most impressive teams right now, doing it well on both sides. Can they sustain it? Florida State up there, Mississippi State. We'll see what Brian O'Connor has in that team. But
who's the one under? Is that New Mexico?
Yeah,
under
New Mexico,
Texas
way
A&M?
out near. Yeah, they're 191 in weighted runs created. Number 2,
boys.
Yeah. A+ logo, by the way, baseball specific logo. This
Yeah,
is
I love
also a good test to see how many baseball logos you can name. Missouri sitting there at the bottom of the right quadrant. Could this be the year that Carrick Jackson figures it out for Missouri Tigers?
Over under 1/2 sweep in SEC. He's hit it the last 2 years. Can we double
I
it
will
this year?
say the teams in the top left, those are going to be your over teams. Or no, bottom right is what I meant.
Yeah, bottom right.
Low
Can
Sierra,
rake, but gets raked.
yeah, low Sierra and high weighted runs created.
Who we got? I mean,
Who would have thought
Iowa's
Iowa
there.
would be over there?
Yeah.
Longer the days where they have a bad offense and a good pitching staff. Now it's completely flipped.
Do we have a double Tennessee? Who's that under
Possibly.
Grambling and UCLA?
I don't know. It must have picked up. It was a
Tale of
different.
two sides.
Yeah.
Overreaction. I'll give you a team that's in the top left by Gonzaga. They should probably be they're concerned. They're concerning. I'm watching them right now. They're down 3-0 now.
Arizona.
Not good. Chip Hale's
You
team.
told me backstage that you didn't think Arizona was a tournament team now.
Overreaction. Arizona may not make the tournament. They have no life through this is the 5th game. And they can't get the ball out of the infield. That's concerning.
If you guys need a subject, Hofstra rattled in duty. That's big.
Yeah.
Here's the thing in Mississippi State, and I wasn't high on them because, yes, you get Ace Reese, who is my pick to win the Golden Spikes. But then what? You get a Virginia team, half of them transferred to Mississippi State, but it was a Virginia team that missed the tournament last year. So how good are they actually going to be? We know Brian O'Connor's a great coach.
Aiden Teal was a stud. You got to give him that, too.
He basically lives in Omaha.
Yeah.
Would be surprised if he had a house there. But
Born and raised in Council Bluffs.
I don't know. I'm not ready to buy into Mississippi State.
I can see the pitching. Can Ryan McPherson go through the SEC gauntlet? He did it as a reliever last year. He did get hit around for a fact in a Florida series because I remember watching it. Can he do that week in and week out, though? And that's the biggest test. Like, you're playing these Hofstras, you're playing these small schools, and you look good as a Friday night guy until you face LSU on that Friday night or you face a Georgia. And same with Valencia. It's like he pitched probably the best from that Virginia team because Evan Blanco couldn't stay healthy. But again, you're going to the offenses. There's no LSU in the ACC. Maybe Florida State was the most comparable. But this is a gauntlet. And can this guy step up and be the Saturday or Sunday guy week in and week out and perform? And offensively, the State will be fine, but it's the pitching that I'm concerned with.
All right, so let's close this out this way. If I told you a team from the left side of the upper quadrant makes it to Omaha, which team are you taking? And then also, if you have to take a team from the right quadrant, and don't give me Miami, Ohio. I see them sitting up there above Florida. I'm talking an SEC team. Which SEC team in the right quadrant, omitting Missouri, misses Omaha? Who is Fugazi?
It's easy. It's Vanderbilt. Yeah. Now, you want the left?
Which team from the upper left quadrant makes it to Omaha? They figure out their offense.
No, I think it's Coastal. I think as long as Cam Fluky, as long as this thing stays, precautionary and him and Hayden Johnson, you don't lose anybody else, now that you've lost Dominic Carbone, I think Coastal has the team to do it. Because they're so trendy in Oregon State, I'll pick another team real quick. Southern Miss. I could see that.
The correct answer I was looking for was Arkansas. But I feel like that goes without saying.
Yeah, I just kind of tuned them out. Yeah.
I'm gonna get creative here. I still think Auburn's very good. I think they figure it out, and I think that starts with upsetting. I'm gonna say upsetting. They're minus 130, beating Kansas State this weekend. I think Auburn could very well be an Omaha team,
All right.
especially if Jake Marciano continues to pitch like he is. But definitely early in the season to tread lightly, and we'll keep all these trends rolling for you guys week in and week out. Q, you got anything else before we roll this town?
No, I'm gonna put a couple plays out tonight just because the line's been out so long. So if you're in the Insiders Clubhouse, you'll see my insights. It's only 2 plays, so don't get crazy. I'm looking run lines and totals tomorrow. So I'll send the rest of the card out, but want to take advantage of these.
All right. Well, for Q and I, thank you for being here with us on a Thursday night. Good luck this weekend, and we'll see you next week.